Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a story you think you know, but you don't. Forget the red-cloaked girl skipping happily through a sun-dappled forest, basket full of treats. The real woods weren't a fairy tale setting, they were a vast, unforgiving, and terrifying place. They were a place where the smallest mistake meant not just being late for dinner, but becoming dinner, where every rustle in the undergrowth could be your last. We're going to put you right there, in the shoes of that little girl, but with the cold, hard reality of medieval Europe nipping at your heels. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where in the world you're watching from, and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You feel the rough, worn wool of the scarlet hood on your head, a gift from your grandmother, a strange splash of colour in the sea of greens and browns that surrounds you. Your feet, clad in simple leather shoes, crunch on a carpet of decaying leaves. The path ahead is narrow, a faint scar through the dense trees that seem to crowd in on you. It's not a path for leisurely strolls, it's a route carved by necessity, a lifeline connecting your village to your grandmother's isolated cottage. You're not skipping, you're walking with purpose, and a small, persistent knot of unease sits in your stomach. The air is heavy, smelling of damp earth, rotting wood, and something wilder, something you can't quite place. You clutch the wicker basket in your hands, the weight of the wine and cake a small comfort against the vastness of the forest. This isn't the kind of place where birds sing cheerful melodies. Here, the sounds are different. The low moan of the wind through the pines, the snap of a twig you can't see, the distant, eerie hoot of an owl even though it's still broad daylight. This is a primordial forest, a place that predates towns and fields, a place where nature is not a gentle backdrop, but an active, often malevolent character. You start to notice the little things, the way the light struggles to pierce the thick canopy, leaving the ground in a perpetual state of twilight, the gnarled roots of ancient oaks that snake across the path like grasping fingers. You keep your eyes on the ground, partly to avoid tripping, but also to avoid looking too deeply into the shadows between the trees. You're a child, and this is a journey you've made before, but today it feels different. The silence is too complete, and the sounds when they come are too sudden. And this isn't just any forest. This is the Black Forest, or what a medieval person would have called Sylvanus Nigra, a name that means dark forest, and truly captures the dread it inspired. This was a place of deep, dark woods that stretched for miles, a place where people rarely ventured far from the safety of the path. A historian once noted that for the average medieval peasant, the forest was not a place of leisure, but a place of both resources and danger. It was where you foraged for mushrooms and berries, but also where you risked encountering outlaws, spirits, or more realistically, hungry predators. It was a place of mystery and fear, a boundary between the known world of the village and the untamed wild. You come to a small clearing. A shaft of weak sunlight breaks through, illuminating a patch of ferns and a few wildflowers. This is where you usually stop for a moment, to catch your breath. But today, the clearing feels exposed. You feel like you're standing on a stage, and something is watching from the wings. That's when you see it. Not a whole wolf, not yet. Just a paw print in the damp soil. It's huge, much bigger than a dog's. You stare at it, your breath catching in your throat. It's fresh. The edges of the print are still sharp, not yet blurred by the wind. The toes are splayed, showing the immense power of the animal that made it. Your mind races, picturing the size of the creature that left such a mark. You remember the stories the old women would tell around the fire, stories of wolves the size of ponies, with coats as dark as a moonless night, stories that were meant to scare you, but also to teach you a lesson: respect the forest, and fear what lives within it. These weren't just cautionary tales. They were based on a grim reality. Packs of wolves, driven by hunger from a hard winter or a poor hunting season, were a very real threat to isolated homesteads and lonely travellers. Historians still debate whether these wolf stories were exaggerated by the local population to instill fear and obedience, or if they were an accurate reflection of a time when man and beast were on more equal footing. What's not debated is the terror a hungry wolf could inspire. As you stand there, staring at the print, a sudden rustle from the bushes to your right snaps you back to reality. You freeze, your heart hammering against your ribs. You don't dare move. You hold your breath, straining your ears, trying to distinguish the sounds of the wind from the sounds of a living creature. There's another rustle, closer this time, and then the unmistakable snap of a twig. You can't see anything, but you know something is there. You feel a prickle of sweat on your brow, a cold chill running down your spine despite the mild air. Your mind starts to play tricks on you. The shadows seem to stretch and lengthen, forming monstrous shapes in the corner of your eye. A gnarled tree stump looks like a hunched figure. A twisted branch becomes a clawed hand. Your imagination, fueled by fear, is your worst enemy right now, and that's exactly what the forest wants. It wants you to feel small, to feel vulnerable. It wants you to make a mistake, a sudden movement, a panicked run. You force yourself to take a deep, shaky breath. Panic is a luxury you can't afford. You know that if you run, whatever is in the bushes will follow. You have to stay calm, to move with a quiet purpose. You slowly, carefully, lift your foot and place it down, trying to make as little noise as possible. You keep moving forward, away from the clearing, away from the terrifying paw print. You don't look back. You just keep walking, trying to convince yourself that the rapid patter of your own heart isn't the sound of approaching footsteps. The path becomes more winding now, and the trees seem to grow closer still. The forest feels like it's closing in, the branches like bars on a cage. You pass by a stand of ancient, moss-covered pines, their needles forming a thick, soft carpet on the ground. You have to admit, it's a beautiful sight, but you can't appreciate the beauty, not when you're so acutely aware of the danger. The silence is back, a heavy, oppressive blanket that smothers all other sounds. You can hear the blood rushing in your ears. You remember an old folk remedy your mother used to talk about, a poultice made from wild herbs and honey to ward off evil spirits. Of course, you don't have any. Your basket holds a bottle of wine and a loaf of cake, meagre offerings for a sick grandmother, not tools for survival in the wilderness. You pass by a stream, the water gurgling over smooth stones. You kneel down for a quick drink, cupping the cool water in your hands. As you do, you catch your reflection for a fleeting moment, a small, scared face with wide eyes, a face that is far too young to be experiencing this kind of terror. You get back on the path, a little more refreshed but no less terrified. You have to keep going. The sun is starting to dip, the weak light turning a sickly orange. You know you have to reach your grandmother's house before nightfall. The forest at night is a completely different beast. You think about your grandmother, old and frail, waiting for you. The thought of her spurs you on, a little jolt of adrenaline pushing you forward. But it also makes you feel a profound sense of responsibility. You are the only thing standing between your grandmother and the harsh reality of hunger and sickness. Your simple journey is now a high-stakes mission. You hear another sound now, a faint howling in the distance. It's not the howl of a single wolf. It's a pack. It's far away, but it's there. A chilling, mournful cry that echoes through the trees and sends a shiver down your spine. A singular wolf is one thing. A pack is an entirely different matter. A pack is an organized unit, a hunting machine. You're no longer just a small girl with a basket. You're prey, and the prey has heard the hunter's calling. You pick up your pace, your quick walk turning into a hurried jog. The basket sloshes against your leg. The sound a loud, clumsy beat in the oppressive silence. You feel like a beacon, a target for every predatory creature in the forest. You're running now, not from what you've seen, but from what you've heard, from the ancient, primal fear that this forest has always held, from the knowledge that you are a stranger here, and the forest is starting to take notice. You continue to run, the sound of the pack's distant howls echoing in your ears, a chilling soundtrack to your frantic escape. The path, once a faint guideline, is now a blurred tunnel of panicked movement. You're not watching for gnarled roots anymore. You're just hoping you don't trip the basket. Once a precious cargo has become a clumsy weight, a liability, you consider dropping it. But the thought of disappointing your sick grandmother and wasting the precious, hard-to-come-by goods is enough to make you hold on tighter. You clutch it to your chest, a fragile shield against the wildness. Your heart pounds so hard you can feel it in your temples. Your breath comes in ragged gasps, burning in your throat. This isn't the forest you've always known, the place where you occasionally forage for berries under your mother's watchful eye. This is a different place. It's an ancient, hungry thing, and you feel like you've just stepped into its mouth. You glance over your shoulder, a quick, terrified flick of your eyes, and see nothing but the same endless, terrifying trees. But you can feel a presence. It's a feeling that every single one of your ancestors knew intimately. The feeling of being watched by a predator, a deep, primal sense of dread that tells you you're not alone. The path curves sharply, and you skid to a stop, almost falling. You're standing at a fork, to the left. The path seems a little wider, a little more worn, promising a faster route. To the right, it's a mere deer trail, overgrown and barely visible. You hesitate for only a moment. Your fear-addled mind tells you to take the wider, more familiar path, but something, a flicker of instinct you can't explain, pulls you to the right. A quick peek down the main path reveals nothing, just more trees. But the air feels different. It feels too open, too exposed, like a trap. You make a snap decision and veer onto the narrow, overgrown trail. The bushes and branches scrape at your arms and legs, pulling at your clothes. The ground is uneven, littered with hidden roots and stones. You're moving slower now, but you feel less vulnerable. The close-set trees and thick undergrowth offer a kind of concealment, a temporary reprieve from the feeling of being a target. As you push your way through the thicket, you notice something strange on the ground. A single white feather. It's not from a common forest bird. It's too soft, too delicate. A swan's feather. Perhaps you dismiss it as an oddity, focusing on not getting lost. As you continue along this new, difficult path, you begin to think about the wolf. The creature that left that massive paw print is not just a hungry animal, it's a character in a story, a figure of myth and legend. In some ancient folklore, wolves weren't just animals, they were shapeshifters, divine creatures, or even the embodiment of the forest itself. They were both revered and feared. A common misconception is that the big bad wolf is a singular archetype, but in reality, the wolf in these stories often represents a much more complex historical fear. Historical fact, medieval Europeans held a deeply ingrained fear of wolves, not just as predators, but as symbols of chaos and the untamed wild. They were often associated with the devil and evil spirits. In some regions, there was a belief in werewolves, people who transformed into wolves, often at night, to prey on others. This belief was so widespread that it led to witch trials and executions. The story of the wolf isn't just about a beast, but about humanity's struggle to understand and control the wild forces of nature, both outside and inside themselves. The fear you feel is an echo of this ancient terror, a collective dread passed down through generations. You press on, the sounds of the pack now fading into the background, replaced by the relentless rustle and snap of your own passage. You're exhausted, your lungs burning, your legs aching. You come to a small, hidden clearing, a tiny pocket of peace in the hostile forest. In the centre of the clearing, a gnarled, ancient oak stands alone, its branches reaching out like twisted arms. Beneath it, you see a small shrine, no more than a pile of moss-covered stones and a few withered flowers. A tiny hand-carved wooden figure of a she-wolf stands nestled among them. It's a strange sight, a symbol of reverence for the very creature you're running from. Obscure detail. This kind of wolf shrine wasn't unheard of in old pagan traditions, which lingered in the remote corners of Europe long after Christianity had taken hold. Some cultures revered the wolf as a protector, a guide, or a powerful spirit. They believed that by making offerings, they could gain the wolf's favour or, at the very least, appease its spirit. They would offer things like small carvings or even scraps of food. This shrine, lost in the woods, is a relic of that old belief system, a silent testament to a time when people lived in a delicate and often contradictory relationship with the wild. You can't help but wonder if the person who built this shrine survived their encounter with the wolf. Did it work? Was the wolf spirit appeased, or did it all end the way these stories always do? You hear a sound now. Not a howl, but a low growl, much closer this time. It comes from behind the ancient oak, a deep rumble that vibrates through the ground and up into your feet. You freeze, your hand flying to your mouth to stifle a whimper. Slowly, deliberately, a shape emerges from the shadows. It's him, the wolf. He's huge, much, much larger than you ever could have imagined. His coat is a dark, mottled grey, the colour of a stormy sky. His eyes, when they meet yours, are not the mindless, bloodshot eyes of a beast from a fairy tale. They are intelligent, cunning. They size you up, not with a hungry desperation, but with a cold, predatory assessment. He is not lunging, not running at you. He is simply standing there, watching you. He takes a slow, deliberate step forward, and another. You feel the ground vibrate with the power of his movement. He is not a monster. He is a perfectly evolved killing machine. Every muscle in his body is taut. Ready to spring, his ears are perked, listening to the terrified thump-thump-thump of your heart. A strange feeling washes over you, a mix of terror and something else, a sense of awe. This is not a cartoon villain. This is the real deal, the embodiment of the wilderness. You and this creature are 1,000 miles away from the village. There are no heroes here, no lumberjacks waiting in the wings. It's just you and him. You realise, with a cold clarity, that you are not a girl with a basket. You are a trespasser in his home. The wolf lets out another low growl, a warning rumble that seems to say, "This is your last chance." You can almost hear him thinking. He's not a mindless brute. He's a strategist. He's testing you, assessing your fear, waiting for you to make a mistake. He's not hungry enough to risk a fight. He wants to see if you're easy prey. Your brain, for once, stops panicking and starts to work. You realise that to run is to trigger his predatory instinct. To scream is to show fear. You do none of these things. You stand your ground. You force yourself to look him in the eye, to show him you're not a scared rabbit. You remember the shrine, the wooden wolf, and the offerings. You think of what the ancient pagans would have done. You need to show him respect, to acknowledge his place here, with a trembling hand. You slowly, carefully, reach into your basket. You pull out a small piece of the cake. It's a simple, honey-sweetened loaf. You hold it out in your palm, not as a peace offering, but as a tribute, an acknowledgement. I'm in your domain. The gesture seems to say, I'm not a threat. The wolf stops advancing. His head cocks to the side, his ears still perked. He looks at your hand, then back to your face. The intelligent, dangerous eyes flicker with something you can't quite read. He's curious. He's never seen this before. He's used to fear, to screams, to running. He's not used to cake, academic debate. Historians and folklorists still debate the true origin of the wolf's cunning in these stories. Was it simply a reflection of the wolf's real-world intelligence as a pack hunter? Or was it an ancient echo of a different kind of wolf, a metaphorical one, perhaps representing a cunning enemy, a deceptive spirit, or even a rival family clan? This is an open question. The stories have changed so much over time, passed down through generations of oral tradition, that it's impossible to know the original intention. Did the wolf in the earliest version of the tale talk, or did he simply observe, plan, and act with a human-like cunning? The wolf you are facing now feels like a physical manifestation of that debate. He isn't talking, but his silence is more terrifying than any words. It's a silence full of calculation and intent. You hold your breath, your arm outstretched, the small piece of cake a fragile bridge between two worlds. The wolf takes another slow step, his massive head lowered, his nose twitching. He smells the honey, the sugar, the wheat, the smell of a world he doesn't belong to, a world of kitchens and bakeries. He gets closer, his hot breath a visible cloud in the cool forest air. You can see the individual hairs on his muzzle, the scar that runs across his eyebrow. He is a powerful, magnificent, terrifying creature. And then, with a swiftness that makes you gasp, he snatches the cake from your hand, not with a vicious bite, but with a quick, delicate snap of his jaws. He doesn't swallow it whole, he chews it slowly, thoughtfully, his eyes never leaving yours. It's a strange, surreal moment. A predator, a symbol of primal terror, is eating a piece of cake from your hand. He finishes the cake, licks his chops, and then, without another sound, he turns and disappears back into the shadows from which he came. He doesn't look back. He's gone. The silence he leaves behind is not the oppressive silence from before. It's a stunned, almost peaceful silence. You stand there for a long time, your arms still outstretched, your heart still pounding. But now, with a different kind of energy, you survived. Not by fighting, not by running, but by doing the one thing no one in a fairy tale ever thinks to do. You offered him a treat. You acknowledged his power and his presence in a way that didn't involve violence or fear. You drop your hand, a slow, shaking motion. You look at your empty palm, the faint crumbs of cake still clinging to your skin. You're alive, but you are no longer the same girl who entered the forest. You've faced the wild, not as an innocent victim, but as a shrewd survivor. The path ahead feels different now. The trees are still dark, the air is still cool, but you no longer feel like a trespasser. You've made a kind of pact, an understanding, you and the wolf, and you've got a long way to go before you reach your grandmother's house. The silence that follows the wolf's departure is thick, but it's no longer a silence of dread. It's a silence of profound relief, punctuated by the frantic drumming of your own heartbeat, slowly beginning to calm down. You stand there for a moment, letting the adrenaline drain from your body. The crumbs of cake on your hand feel like a strange kind of victory medal. You faced a primal fear and, through an act of sheer, terrified intuition, survived. But the ordeal isn't over, not by a long shot. The path to your grandmother's house stretches out before you, an endless ribbon of grey and green. You remember an old rhyme your mother used to sing, a silly, light-hearted thing about not wandering from the path. You now understand that rhyme wasn't a piece of fluff, it was a warning. It was a centuries-old piece of practical advice, a survival guide disguised as a nursery rhyme. The path, however treacherous and filled with shadows, was the known world the moment you stepped off it. You were in the realm of myth and predators. You've strayed from the main road, and you're now on a barely there trail, a route that is less a path and more a suggestion. As you resume your journey, the feeling of being watched returns, but it's different now. It's no longer the cold, predatory gaze of a lone wolf. It's something else, the feeling of 1,000 tiny eyes. You start to notice the small things you'd missed in your fear-fueled run, the way the moss on the trees seems to have a life of its own, the sudden silent flight of a raven from a branch above you. The forest is a hive of activity, and you are its only clumsy, two-legged inhabitant. The trail you're on leads you deeper into the woods, into a part you've never seen before. The trees here are taller, older, their branches tangled and knotted into a thick, nearly impenetrable canopy. The air is even cooler, and the light is so dim it feels like late dusk. Even though the sun is still high in the sky, you feel like you've walked into a different world, a forgotten corner of the earth untouched by the passing of time. This isn't the Black Forest anymore. This is the Urwald, the primordial forest of ancient German folklore, a place of mystery and forgotten spirits. You hear a strange sound, a high-pitched chittering coming from above you. You look up, straining your neck, and see a small, dark shape flitting between the branches. It's a squirrel, but it's not like the plump, grey squirrels of your village. This one is smaller, darker, its eyes like beads of jet. And it's not alone. There are dozens of them, scrambling along the branches, their chittering a constant, unnerving hum. You get the distinct feeling they're not just going about their business. They're watching you. They're following you. And then you smell it, a sweet, cloying odour, like rotting fruit and honey. It's an unnatural smell in the middle of a primeval forest. It's the smell of something left to decay. You follow the scent, your curiosity outweighing your caution for a moment. You come to a small hollow at the base of a massive, ancient beech tree, and there it is, a beehive, but not a normal hive. It's a wild hive, built right into a hollow in the tree trunk, and it's absolutely massive. Honey drips from the entrance, a thick golden river attracting a furious, buzzing cloud of bees and wasps. Historical fact: wild honey was a highly sought-after commodity in the medieval world. It was a primary source of sugar and was used for everything from sweetening food to making mead, a fermented honey drink. However, collecting it was incredibly dangerous. A bear was often the biggest threat, but a swarm of angry bees could be lethal. 2. People who went honey hunting would often smoke out the bees or risk being stung to death. For a child wandering alone, finding a wild hive was not a sweet discovery. It was a life-threatening obstacle. You know instinctively that to get too close is to risk the wrath of the swarm. You turn to walk away, your stomach rumbling at the sight of the sweet honey, a desire for something so simple and good warring with your common sense. But as you turn, you see a small, dark figure squatting on a branch above the beehive. It's an animal you've only ever seen in faded drawings and whispered stories. A pine marten. It's a small, ferret-like creature with a sleek, dark coat and a pointed snout. It's too small to be a serious threat, but its presence here feels significant. Obscure detail: the pine marten was a feared creature in some parts of medieval Europe, not because of its size, but because it was believed to be a harbinger of bad luck or an omen of death. Some folklore even suggested it could lead travellers astray, luring them deeper into the forest to their doom. The pine marten you see now is watching you, its black eyes unblinking, its head cocked to the side. It doesn't seem to be a threat, but its presence is deeply unsettling. A small, dark piece of an ancient superstition brought to life. It's a bad omen, and it's staring right at you. You try to ignore it, to keep walking, but as you do, you notice something else, something even more disturbing. The path ahead is littered with bones, not a full skeleton, but a collection of small bones, scattered and bleached white by the sun and rain. The femur of a rabbit, the skull of a small bird, the jawbone of a mouse. It's a graveyard of tiny things. The pine marten chitters again, a sharp, metallic sound that makes the hairs on your arms stand on end. You get the distinct feeling that this isn't just a natural occurrence. It's a warning. You're entering a place where the rules of the forest are different, and where even a small creature like a marten can hold sway. It's a signpost of death. You remember the old tales of the forest fae, creatures that would mislead travellers, leading them to their deaths. The chittering of the marten feels like a laugh, a cruel joke at your expense. You have to make a choice, to continue down the path of bones and marten omens, or to try and find your way back to the main path. But the main path is where the wolf was, and you don't want to go back there, not after your strange encounter. You're trapped between two kinds of terror, the terror of a physical predator, and the terror of something more subtle, more ancient, and more magical. You press on, stepping carefully around the tiny bleached bones. You're not just walking, you're navigating a dangerous landscape of superstition and reality. You notice the trees are becoming increasingly tangled and knotted, forming a kind of natural labyrinth. The trail twists and turns, making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. You start to feel dizzy, disoriented. You're losing your sense of direction. The path is no longer leading you anywhere. It's just leading you in. You come to a small, hidden spring, a small pool of crystal clear water bubbling up from the ground. It's a moment of respite, a small pocket of beauty in the otherwise terrifying landscape. You kneel down to take a drink, but as you do, you see something at the bottom of the pool. It's a coin, an old tarnished silver coin, glinting faintly in the water. You reach in to grab it, but the water is colder than you expect, and your fingers close around nothing but smooth stones. The coin is gone. It was never there. It was a trick of the light, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and fear. Or was it? Academic debate. The concept of a forest spirit or a fae who misleads travellers is a common theme in many European folk tales, but scholars still debate whether these stories were originally meant to be taken literally, or if they were a way to explain a very real phenomenon getting lost. The vast tangled forests of medieval Europe were incredibly easy to get lost in, especially for someone who strayed from the path. The disorientation you're feeling, the feeling of walking in circles, the mirage of the coin, these could all be explained by a simple lack of a compass and a map. But in a world where magic was as real as hunger, the idea of a fae or a mischievous forest spirit luring you to your doom was a much more compelling and terrifying explanation. You are in the middle of that debate, experiencing the raw, physical reality of getting lost while your mind tries to come up with a supernatural reason for it. The trees are so close now that you have to turn sideways to squeeze between them. The path is gone. It's just a sea of ancient trees, their trunks covered in a thick layer of green moss, their branches interlocking like the fingers of a sleeping giant. You're completely lost. The fear you've been holding at bay comes rushing back, cold and overwhelming. You're no longer a brave survivor, you're just a little girl, alone and lost in a terrifyingly old and wild place. You want to cry, but you don't. You bite your lip so hard you can taste blood. Crying won't help, screaming won't help. You have to think. You have to find a way out. You remember the old trick your father taught you, of looking for the moss on the side of the trees to find your way. But the moss is everywhere. It covers every trunk, every branch, every stone. The trick is useless here. You're truly alone, without a guide, without a path, and without a hero to save you. And then, in the distance, you hear it. A sound you haven't heard in what feels like a lifetime. It's the sound of a human voice. It's faint, carried on the wind, but it's there. A low, gruff voice, singing a simple off-key tune. The sound is a beacon, a lifeline in a sea of green. You stumble in the direction of the voice, pushing through the thick undergrowth, your clothes snagging on thorns, your skin scratched and bleeding. You don't care. You're running toward the sound of another human being. You're running toward a world you thought you'd lost forever. You push through a final wall of brambles, your breath coming in ragged gasps, and burst out into a small, overgrown clearing. The human voice is louder now, much closer. It's a low, rumbling baritone, the kind of voice you'd expect from a man who spends his life outdoors. The song is simple, a repetitive tune about chopping wood and earning your bread, and there he is. A man. He's standing with his back to you, a massive axe in his hands, his broad shoulders rising and falling with each powerful swing. Chips of wood fly through the air, glinting in the faint light. He's the physical embodiment of the strength and certainty that you've been missing. He's the lumberjack from the stories, though the word itself seems too small to describe the sheer, brute force of his presence. He stops chopping and leans the axe against the stump, wiping his brow with the back of a calloused hand. He turns to face you, and you take a tentative step forward. He's not a young man. His face is lined and weathered, a road map of a hard life spent in the sun and cold. He has a thick, dark beard and eyes that are the colour of a stormy sky. He looks at you with a mixture of surprise and suspicion, his gaze sweeping over your dishevelled clothes and the basket you're clutching. You expect him to be welcoming, to be the hero of the story, but his face is hard, his expression unreadable. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at you. The silence is different from the silence of the forest. It's a human silence, heavy with unasked questions. You feel the need to explain yourself, to justify your presence in his secluded clearing. You tell him about your grandmother, about the basket, about getting lost. He listens, his expression unchanging, and then he does something that completely throws you. He lets out a single, low laugh, a sound like a stone tumbling down a well. Grandmother, he rumbles, the word thick with an old-world accent. You've come a long way for a basket of wine and bread. He looks at your tattered clothes and scratched arms. The forest doesn't give up its secrets easily, does it? It's not a question. It's a statement of fact. A man who knows the forest speaking to a child who is only just beginning to understand it. You expect him to offer you a way out, to lead you back to the main path instead. He simply gestures to a small, lopsided hut made of logs and mud. Nestled against a stand of pines, a thin wisp of smoke curls from a hole in the roof. Sit by the fire, he says. You look like you've seen a ghost. You hesitate, but the promise of warmth and safety is too strong to resist. You walk to the hut, the ground littered with wood chips and sawed-off logs, and sink onto a rough-hewn bench outside the door. He follows you and sits on another stump, pulling a whetstone from a pouch on his belt and beginning to sharpen his axe with long, methodical strokes. The rhythmic shick-shick-shick of the stone against the metal is a hypnotic sound, a comforting thrum of human activity in the middle of a frighteningly natural world. As he works, you get a closer look at the man. He's not a young, clean-shaven hero. He's a solitary figure, a man who has made a life for himself on the fringes of society. He smells of sweat, pine sap, and wood smoke. He is a hunter and a provider, not for a village but for himself. Historical fact. The role of the lumberjack or woodsman in medieval society was far from heroic. These were often solitary, rugged individuals who lived on the edge of the law. They weren't simply chopping wood for the village, they were often clearing land for farming, a dangerous and laborious task, or felling trees for charcoal, which was a vital industry. The relationship between these men and the forest was a complex one, a dance of both respect and exploitation. They knew the forest intimately, its dangers and its resources, but they were also a constant, destructive force within it, slowly but surely eating away at its edges. The man before you isn't a saviour. He's an agent of change, a man who is carving out a new world from the old one axe swing at a time. He finishes sharpening his axe and holds it up, inspecting the blade, which gleams with a terrifying sharpness. He looks at you again, his stormy eyes pensive. "The wolves are hungry this season," he says, his voice softer now. "The winter was hard, not enough deer." He gestures with his head in the direction you came from. "You're lucky you didn't meet a hungry one. You're too exhausted to even respond. So you just nod." He seems to understand. He reaches into a small sack hanging from his belt and pulls out a hunk of dried meat. A piece of a venison jerky. He hands it to you. It's hard and salty, but the taste of it is like a lifeline. You chew on it slowly. The simple nourishment of profound comfort. It's the first solid food you've had all day. As you eat, he tells you a story, not of heroes or magic, but of the forest itself. He tells you about a particularly cunning wolf, a magnificent beast with a scar over one eye that he's been tracking for years. He speaks of it not with anger, but with a kind of grudging respect. He is a hunter, and the wolf is his prey, but he acknowledges the wolf's cunning and strength. He respects the game. Obscure detail. In some regions, medieval woodsmen and hunters had a complex relationship with the wolves they hunted. They sometimes made a pact or a deal, leaving out offerings of scraps of meat to appease the wolves, hoping to keep them from coming too close to their camps or settlements. This was not a friendly gesture, but a pragmatic one, an unspoken understanding that they would not encroach on each other's territory if a certain boundary was respected. It was a kind of primitive, desperate diplomacy. This man's knowledge of the wolf, his respect for its cunning, suggests he is one of these old-world hunters, a man who lives by the unspoken rules of the wilderness. He knows the forest in a way that you, a simple village girl, can never hope to. You realize, with a cold clarity, that your encounter with the wolf wasn't a random stroke of luck. It was a deal. The cake was an offering, a small, accidental tribute that showed the wolf you were a strange, unknown quantity not worth the effort of a chase. The wolf wasn't just a hungry animal. He was a strategic hunter who decided you were more trouble than you were worth. The man before you, this woodsman, would have understood that. He would have known exactly what that interaction meant. He is a part of this ancient, brutal, and beautiful world. He finishes eating his jerky and stands up, stretching his back. "It's getting late," he says, his voice a little softer. "Your grandmother's place is still a long way from here. The path is dangerous at night, even for me." He looks at you, and for the first time, you see a flicker of something other than suspicion in his eyes, a kind of grudging empathy. He reaches into his hut and pulls out a large, heavy cloak, a crude thing made of animal hides and stitched with sinew. It smells faintly of wood smoke and a lingering, musky scent. He hands it to you. "Take this," he says. "The forest gets cold at night. It will help." You take the cloak. Its weight and warmth are surprise. It's an act of kindness, a small human gesture in a world that has so far been relentlessly hostile. But there's a catch. There always is. He looks at you with a piercing gaze, his eyes narrowing slightly. He doesn't say it, but you know what he wants. He wants to know what you're carrying. He knows the scent of the wolf is still on you, the scent of the wild. He knows you've seen things you shouldn't have, and he wants to know your story, your connection to the primal, dangerous world he inhabits. Academic debate. The figure of the woodsman or hunter in folk tales often represents a bridge between the civilized world of the village and the untamed wilderness, but scholars still debate whether this figure was meant to be a hero, a villain, or a neutral force. Was he a protector, a man who kept the wild at bay, or was he a dangerous, amoral figure, as much a part of the wild as the wolf itself? The man before you is a physical representation of that debate. He gave you a piece of meat and a cloak, an act of kindness, but the hard suspicion in his eyes, the predatory gleam, tells you that this kindness is not without a price. He is a hunter, and you are a part of a story he has never heard before. He will help you, but only if you help him, by giving him the one thing he lacks information. He wants to know the secret of the wolf. The story is no longer about you and the wolf. It's about you, the wolf, and the man who wants to understand it. You look at him, then at the cloak in your hands. It's a gift, a form of protection, but it's also a transaction. He has helped you, and now he expects something in return. The forest, you are learning, has no such thing as a free lunch. Every act, every kindness, every piece of cake has a price. You think of your grandmother alone and sick, waiting for you. You think of the wolf, its intelligent, curious eyes. You think of the woodsman, the strange, dangerous, kind man. You are no longer on a simple errand. You are an agent in a complex web of rivalries, alliances, and primal instincts, and you're only halfway to your destination. You take the hide cloak from the woodsman. The rough animal pelt surprisingly heavy in your hands. It smells of wood smoke and the rich, earthy musk of the forest itself. It's a kind of armour, a shield against the cold and the unspoken dangers of the night. You pull it around your shoulders, and it feels like you're putting on a new identity, no longer just a girl with a red hood, but a person with a story to tell, a person who has already survived more than most. The woodsman watches you, his stormy eyes pensive, waiting for you to speak. He knows there is a part of the story he hasn't heard yet. He's a hunter, and he senses the prey has more to reveal than it knows. You decide to tell him. It feels like a fair exchange. His cloak for your story. You tell him about the massive paw print in the clearing, the one that made your heart stop. You describe the low growl, the cunning intelligence in the wolf's eyes. You tell him about the cake, the strange surreal moment of offering a predator a sweet treat. He listens intently, his expression unreadable. When you finish, he says nothing for a long moment, simply staring into the middle distance. He's not a man for easy conversation. He's a man who understands the language of the forest, the unspoken rules. A tribute, he finally rumbles, a small nod of understanding, a strange one, but a tribute nonetheless. He accepted it. He looks at you with a new, almost respectful curiosity. You are not a simple girl. You have the heart of a survivor. He doesn't flatter you. It's simply an observation, a fact he has deduced from your tale. He tells you that your grandmother's house is a bit further down a different trail, one that skirts the edge of a deep ravine. It's a dangerous path, but it's the only one he knows of that leads to her isolated cottage. He points you in the right direction, a quick gesture with his calloused hand, and you start on your way. As you leave the clearing, the woodsman's words echo in your mind. The ravine path. You're filled with a new dread. The word ravine in this forest means one thing: a deep, unforgiving chasm with loose rocks and steep, crumbling edges. It's a path for mountain goats, not for a tired child. The path starts off easily enough, a narrow, winding trail that follows the crest of a ridge, but soon, the ground to your left falls away sharply, a sudden, terrifying drop into a sea of mist-shrouded pines. You can't see the bottom. The air here is cold and thin, and every gust of wind seems to try and push you closer to the edge. You walk carefully, your feet a little surer now, your mind a little sharper. You're no longer just a girl lost in the woods. You are a survivor on a mission. You clutch the woodsman's cloak to your body, its weight a comforting presence. But the path is becoming more and more treacherous. The ground is loose, covered in a fine layer of gravel and small, rolling stones. Every step is a gamble. You have to place your feet carefully, testing the ground before you commit your full weight. As you inch along the narrow trail, you look across the ravine to the other side. You see a flash of movement, a dark shape moving quickly through the trees. It's him, the wolf. He's running parallel to you, keeping pace with your slow, careful progress. He's not stalking you, he's not hunting you, he's simply running on his own path. A silent companion on a journey you're both making. He's not a threat. Not anymore. He's a powerful, wild reminder of the delicate pact you've made. He is a part of your story now, a character you have an uneasy truce with. He is a living, breathing testament to the fact that you survived. You turn your attention back to the path. A sudden gust of wind almost knocks you off your feet. You stumble, your body lurching precariously toward the edge. You gasp, your heart leaping into your throat. You clutch at a small, gnarled tree root that's poking out of the ground, your fingers scrabbling for purchase. You pull yourself back from the edge, your legs shaking, your body drenched in a cold sweat. That was too close. The ravine path is not a path of physical danger. It's a path of constant, unrelenting terror, where one wrong step means the end of the story. You continue on, your progress slow and painstaking. You come to a part of the path that has been completely washed away, a gap of several feet with a sheer drop below. You can see no other way. You're trapped. You can either turn back and face the darkness of the woods at night, or you can find a way to cross this gap. You look down. A dizzying swirl of grey and green. Your mind races. You have to find a way. You notice a massive, ancient pine tree that has fallen, its trunk forming a precarious bridge across the chasm. It's old, slick with moss and dew, and it's a far cry from a safe crossing, but it's your only way forward. You look across the ravine again. The wolf is still there, sitting on his haunches, watching you. He seems to be waiting. He seems to be encouraging you. You feel a strange sense of solidarity with the beast. He is a creature of the wild, a survivor. He understands the desperation of this moment. Historical fact in many ancient and medieval cultures. Ravines and deep chasms were considered to be places of immense power, often seen as gateways to the underworld or the domain of spirits. People would often leave offerings at the edge of these ravines, hoping to appease the spirits and ensure a safe passage. These were not places of simple geography. They were places of deep, supernatural significance. The path you are on isn't just a physical path. It's a symbolic journey into a place of great spiritual danger, a place where the veil between worlds is thin. The peril you face is both real and mythological. You take a deep breath, and you step onto the fallen tree trunk. It's slick and unstable. You walk slowly, carefully, your arms outstretched for balance. The chasm below yawns open, a vast emptiness that seems to want to swallow you whole. The wind howls, a mournful sound that tries to distract you. You have to focus. You have to block out the fear. You have to trust your instincts. You are not a little girl anymore. You are a tightrope walker, a survivor, a person making a journey through a world that is trying its best to kill you. You reach the halfway point. The tree trunk groans under your weight, a low, unsettling sound that sends a jolt of panic through you. You stop. You can't go forward, and you can't go back. You're suspended in a terrifying moment of indecision. You remember the woodsman's words. You have the heart of a survivor. You have to believe him. You have to find that strength within you. You close your eyes for a moment and you think of your grandmother, frail and alone, waiting for you. That thought, that love, is the one thing that gives you the strength to continue. Academic debate. The symbolic significance of the path in these fairy tales is a point of much scholarly discussion. Is the path a representation of the moral high ground, a righteous journey, or is it simply a literal representation of the one safe way through a dangerous landscape? Was the act of straying from the path meant to be a moral warning about temptation and sin, or a practical warning about the dangers of getting lost as you stand on this precarious bridge? A moral and physical tightrope walker, you are living out both interpretations at the same time. Your journey is both a test of your character and a physical test of your ability to navigate a dangerous world. You open your eyes, take another deep breath, and continue on. You move slowly, one foot in front of the other. The last few feet seem to take an eternity, But you make it. You step off the tree trunk and back onto solid ground. You fall to your knees, trembling, your body shaking with a mix of terror and triumph. You survive the ravine. You survive the wolf. You survive the omens and the darkness and the fear. You are bruised, exhausted, and terrified, but you are alive, and you are so close to your destination you can almost smell it. You look across the ravine one last time. The wolf is gone. He's moved on. The path ahead is now a much clearer, easier trail. The trees are a little less dense, and the light is a little brighter. You can see the faint outline of a chimney in the distance, a thin wisp of smoke curling up from it. Your grandmother's house, a haven of safety and warmth, but you've come too far and seen too much to believe that safety is a guarantee. You know, deep down, that the story isn't over yet. The wolf is gone, but something tells you he'll be waiting. You reach the top of a small rise, and there it is, your grandmother's house, but it's not what you pictured. It's not a cute, picturesque cottage with a picket fence and a smoking chimney. It's a humble, weathered dwelling, a low, squat structure made of rough-hewn logs and mud, its roof thatched with straw. A thin wisp of smoke rises from the crude stone chimney, but it looks more like a tired exhale than a cheerful sign of life. The small garden plot in front is overgrown, the weeds outcompeting the few scraggly vegetables. The house is a testament to survival, not comfort. It's a place where a person lives in a constant, quiet battle with the elements. As you walk toward the house, you notice the details. The single window is small, covered with a pane of oiled pig bladder. Not glass. It lets in a weak, yellow light. The door is a solid, heavy slab of oak, reinforced with iron bands, more a fortress door than a welcoming one. It's clear that this is a home built for defence, a safe haven against a world that is not always friendly. You reach the door, the woodsman's cloak still around your shoulders, and you knock. The sound is a dull, heavy thud. There's a long pause. You knock again, a little louder this time. The door opens a crack, and an eye peers out. A single, cloudy eye, half hidden by a lank strand of grey hair. It's your grandmother, but something is wrong. Her face is pale and drawn, her skin almost translucent. Her voice is a raspy whisper. Who's there? She doesn't sound like herself. She sounds strange. It's me, Grandma, you say, your voice cracking with relief and a new, unsettling fear. Little Red. The door opens wider, and you see her. She's in bed, propped up on a pile of rough blankets. She's wearing a cap that almost completely obscures her face. The air in the room is stale and heavy, smelling of sickness and wood smoke. You put the basket on the small, rickety table beside her bed. You feel a profound sense of accomplishment, and a growing sense of dread. "Oh, my dear," she whispers, her voice a little more familiar now. "Come closer. I can't see you well." You take a tentative step toward the bed. You notice her hands. They are large and gnarled, covered in thick, dark hair. They are not your grandmother's hands. You remember her hands, small and delicate, a lifetime of sewing and cooking. These hands are different. You feel a cold knot of ice form in your stomach. "But Grandma," you say, your voice trembling, "what big hands you have." Her voice, which was a raspy whisper a moment ago, is now a low, rumbling growl. "All the better to hold you with, my dear." The voice is deep, thick, and not human, and that's when it happens. The wolf's famous deception. But it's not a clumsy, pantomime performance. It's a calculated psychological tactic. He knows that in the dim light of the cottage, with her face hidden by a cap and her body shrouded in blankets. You won't see the full picture. You'll see what you want to see. You'll see your grandmother. The disguise isn't for you, not entirely. It's for himself. It's a way to get you to lower your guard, to come closer, to make you believe, just for a moment, that you're safe. That historical fact, this part of the story, the wolf's elaborate disguise, is often misinterpreted in many medieval and Renaissance-era stories. Deception was not a silly ruse, it was a real and present danger. People were often wary of strangers, especially those who appeared to be one thing but were in fact another. The idea of a wolf in a sheep's clothing was not a fairy tale metaphor, it was a genuine fear of betrayal and cunning. The wolf's act of impersonation is a physical manifestation of this fear, a powerful symbol of the danger that can hide behind a familiar face. He sits up in the bed, the blankets falling away to reveal a massive, furry chest and two enormous, clawed feet. He is not a man in a wolf suit. He is a wolf in a grandmother's cap. His eyes, when they meet yours, are the same intelligent, stormy eyes you saw in the clearing. He is the same wolf, the same cunning hunter. He wasn't running parallel to you in the ravine. He was taking a shortcut. He knew this path better than you did. He was here before you. But Grandma, you whisper, the fear now a cold, all-consuming wave. What big ears you have, all the better to hear you with, my dear. He growls, the sound a low vibration that makes the very floorboards tremble. He's not trying to fool you anymore. The game is over. The ruse has served its purpose. He has you cornered. And what big teeth you have, you say, your voice barely a whisper, as he opens his mouth in a wide, terrifying yawn, revealing a set of massive, yellow fangs. All the better to eat you with, he roars, and he lunges. But this isn't the end of the story. You're not a simple girl from a storybook. You're a survivor. You've learned to think on your feet. You've made a pact with this wolf once, and you know there is a part of him that is not a mindless beast. You have to appeal to that part again. You have to be cleverer than he is, as he lunges. You do the only thing you can think of. You throw the woodsman's cloak at him. It's a strange, desperate move, but it works. He's momentarily disoriented by the unexpected weight and the strange, human smell of the cloak. The cloak, you realize, is not just a shield against the cold, it's a piece of the human world, a symbol of the world he cannot fully enter. It's a reminder of the other predator in the forest, the one who hunts with a blade, not a tooth. Obscure detail in some ancient folk tales. Predators were believed to be susceptible to the smell of man, a scent that could repel them or confuse them, a human-scented item, like a cloak or a piece of clothing, could be used as a last resort to ward off a hungry beast. The woodsman's cloak, imbued with the potent scent of a man who lives and hunts in the forest, is not just a piece of fabric, it's a weapon. You've used the power of one predator to fight another. The wolf, momentarily confused by the cloak, stops his lunge. He shakes his head, trying to get the heavy fabric off of him. This is your chance. You turn and run, not for the front door, which is blocked, but for the back of the house, you know? Instinctively, that the back of the house will be weaker. You burst through a small, flimsy door and into the back garden, a small, enclosed patch of land where your grandmother used to keep a few chickens, but the chickens are gone, and a new, terrible smell hangs in the air. You're back in the forest, but you're not lost anymore. You're in a place of purpose, running for your life. The wolf, having disentangled himself from the cloak, is right behind you. You can hear his heavy breathing, the thunder of his paws on the ground. You're not just a girl with a basket. You're a survivor, a protagonist in a story that is no longer about innocence, but about the harsh, brutal reality of a world where predators and prey live side by side. Your journey to your grandmother's house isn't a fairy tale, it's a fight for survival, and you are just now realizing that your journey has only just begun. You burst through the back door, the splintered wood a testament to your desperate escape. The wolf is right behind you, his breath hot on your neck. You are no longer running on a path, but through a small, overgrown clearing behind the cottage. You duck behind a pile of old, rotted logs, the rough bark scraping your arm. The wolf slams into the pile with a furious snarl, sending the logs scattering. You scramble away on your hands and knees, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against the dirt. You make it to the edge of the clearing and dive back into the woods, the familiar terror now a cold, desperate clarity. The wolf is no longer a cunning hunter. He is a furious beast, his patience gone, his true nature revealed. The game of cat and mouse is over. This is now a fight for your life, and you are far from home. But this isn't a battle of strength. You've already learned that you can't outrun or outfight a wolf. This has to be a battle of wits. You remember the stories the woodsman told you, about the wolf's cunning, about his knowledge of the forest. The wolf knows this place better than you do, but you know something the wolf doesn't. You have a mind that can think outside the confines of instinct. You can plan. You can use tools. You are a human. You are running through a part of the forest you've never seen before, a dense thicket of thorns and tangled vines. The wolf is right behind you, his enraged howls echoing through the trees. You trip over a gnarled root and fall, your basket of wine and cake flying from your hands. The bottle shatters, the wine a dark stain on the forest floor, and the cake crumbles into 100 pieces. The last of your purpose, the last of your innocence, is gone. You are now just a person running from a beast. As you scramble to your feet, you see it. A small, abandoned hunting blind, a crude shelter of branches and leaves. It's old, almost completely overgrown, but it's there. It's a tool of the human world, a place where a hunter waits for his prey. And now, you are the one using the tool. You dive into the blind, pulling the leafy branches closed behind you, your body trembling with fear and exhaustion. The wolf crashes through the thicket, stopping right in front of the blind. He can smell you. He can hear your frantic breathing, but he can't see you. He sniffs at the air, his ears twitching, his eyes scanning the dense undergrowth. The hunting blind is a human place, a place he doesn't understand, a place that defies the rules of the forest. He lets out a frustrated growl, a low, rumbling sound of pure fury. Historical fact for medieval peoples. The forest was not just a natural place, it was a resource. Hunting was a vital part of survival, a way to supplement a meagre diet. Hunters often used crude blinds and pits to trap their prey. The hunting blind you've stumbled upon is a relic of that constant struggle between man and nature, a physical reminder that humans have always been a predatory force in the forest. Just like the wolf. You're not just hiding in a pile of leaves, you're hiding in a piece of human history, a tool of survival used by your ancestors for millennia. You are in the blind, a small, scared creature in a human-made nest, while the wolf, the magnificent, terrifying creature of the wild, paces in front of you. He is a magnificent killing machine. But you have one thing he doesn't, the ability to reason, the ability to use a tool, the ability to think like a human hunter. He walks away, his tail low, a slow, deliberate retreat. He's not giving up. He's simply re-strategizing. He's a hunter, and he knows the rules of the hunt. He knows that his prey is in a blind spot. He's going to circle around. He's going to find a way to get you out. You have to be one step ahead of him. You realize, with a sudden terrifying clarity, that your grandmother's house wasn't a haven of safety. It was a hunting blind. It was a trap. The wolf knew that you would come to a place of human comfort, a place where you would feel safe. He used the house, a tool of the human world, against you. He used a human space to become a human predator. He wore your grandmother's cap. He lay in her bed. He spoke with her voice. He was a perfect mimic, a master of deception. Obscure detail, the wolf's ability to imitate your grandmother is more than just a fairy tale device. In many ancient folklores, animals were believed to be able to talk, to reason, and to deceive. They were not seen as dumb beasts, but as cunning and often malevolent beings. The wolf's ability to speak in this story is a throwback to that older, more animistic worldview. A world where the lines between human and animal were much blurrier. It's a world where the wolf isn't just a wild beast, but a character in a drama, a being with a will and a purpose that is a dark reflection of your own. The wolf is gone, but the silence is more terrifying than his growls. You know he's out there, circling, his every move a calculated step in a deadly dance. You have to get out of the blind. You can't stay here forever. You have to find a way to escape. You have to use the tools of the human world to your advantage. You look around the hunting blind. It's a small, enclosed space, but it's not a tomb. There's a small hole in the back, a hole that was probably used by the hunter to look at his prey. It's too small for a wolf to get through, but you might be able to squeeze through it. You push at the branches, and with a great effort, you make it a little wider. You crawl through the hole, tearing your clothes and scratching your skin, and you're back in the dense thicket. You're a small, insignificant thing in a vast, terrifying world, but you have a mind, and you have a will to survive. You run, not in a straight line, but in a series of twists and turns, trying to throw the wolf off your scent. You're no longer just running, you're hunting. You're using the knowledge of the human hunter, the knowledge of the tools, to try and outwit the wild. The wolf's distant howls are now a sign, not of your impending doom, but of his frustration. He's a hunter who has lost his prey. He is still a dangerous predator, a beast to be feared, but he is no longer a master of the hunt. He has lost his perfect camouflage, his perfect disguise. You have stripped away the deceit and revealed the beast underneath. Academic debate. The symbolism of the wolf's disguise is a matter of much debate among folklorists. Some argue that it's a moral tale about the dangers of trusting strangers, a story to teach children to be wary of those who don't seem like they are what they appear to be. Others argue that it's a story about the deceptive nature of the wilderness itself, the idea that the forest, which can seem so beautiful and inviting, is in fact a deadly dangerous place. The wolf's deception is a powerful primal fear, a fear that has resonated with people for centuries. It's a story that is as much about human nature as it is about the nature of the beast. You run on, your legs burning, your lungs on fire. You are no longer just running from the wolf. You are running from the story itself, the story of the innocent girl who gets eaten by the wolf. You are trying to write a new ending, an ending where the girl survives, where the prey outwits the predator, where the human is just as dangerous as the beast, and in the distance, you can hear a new sound. It's the sound of an axe, a low, rhythmic thud. The woodsman, the man who gave you the cloak, the man who told you about the wolves, the man who is now a beacon of hope in the heart of the terrifying forest. The sound of the axe is a lifeline, a rhythmic beat of hope in the terrifying symphony of the forest. You run toward it, pushing through the tangled vines and low-hanging branches, your body aching and bruised. The wolf's howls are now distant, confused. He's a hunter who has lost his scent, a predator who has lost his way. The tables have turned. You are no longer the prey. You are the one in control, the one with the destination. You burst into a small clearing, your lungs burning, your legs trembling with exhaustion. And there he is, the woodsman. He's standing over a freshly felled tree, his axe still in his hand. He looks at you, his stormy eyes widening slightly at your dishevelled state. He sees the scratches on your face, the torn clothes, the fear still etched on your features. He knows what happened. The wolf, he says, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. He was waiting for you at the cottage. You nod. Too out of breath to speak, you tell him, in gasps and hurried sentences, what happened, about the disguise, the cloak, the final, terrifying chase. He listens, his face a mask of stone, and when you're done, he lets out a low whistle, a sound that is half respectful, half amused. He's a clever one. That wolf, he says, his gaze distant. He knows the old ways. He knows the house is a human's hunting blind, a place where prey feels safe, a place where the hunter can wait. He looks at you with a kind of grudging admiration. But you, girl, you are even more clever. You use the hunter's tools against the beast. You use the blind against the one who made the blind. He gestures to the cottage in the distance, a small, dark shadow against the setting sun. He will be back, he says, his voice low and serious. He will not give up so easily. A pack is a force of nature, a thing of hunger and instinct. But that wolf, that one is different. He is a king among wolves, a hunter with a mind. He will be back. You feel a profound sense of exhaustion and despair. The relief you felt at seeing the woodsman is now tempered with the cold, hard reality that this is not over. You have not won. You have only survived this one encounter. The wolf is still out there, hungry and angry, and that's when the woodsman tells you the real story. Not a fairy tale, but a historical reality. He tells you about the famine, a terrible, long winter that has left the land barren, the animals scarce. The woods are empty, the deer and the boar have moved on, and the small animals have all been hunted. The wolves are not just hungry, they are starving. The hunger in the wolf's eyes wasn't just a simple appetite, it was a desperate, all-consuming need. Historical fact in many of the regions where these wolf stories originated. Famine was a regular, terrifying occurrence, a long winter, a failed harvest, or a devastating plague could wipe out entire villages. Animals, driven by the same hunger that afflicted humans, would become more aggressive and would encroach on human settlements. The wolf's hunger is not a character flaw, it's a historical and sociological reality. The story of the wolf is not a story about a bad animal, it is a story about a desperate struggle for survival, a grim, brutal battle for food in a world where there wasn't enough to go around. He tells you that the cottage you ran from is not just your grandmother's home, it's a place of scarcity. Your grandmother is not just sick, she is starving. The wine and the cake you were carrying were not just a gift, they were a precious, life-saving resource. The wolf didn't just want to eat you, he wanted the food in your basket. He was a predator, yes, but he was also being driven by the same grim economic reality that you and your family were. The story is no longer a simple morality tale. It's a grim reflection of a world in which every living thing, from the smallest mouse to the largest human, is fighting for a place at the table. You feel a pang of sadness and regret. The cake and wine, the last of your hope, are now a dark stain on the forest floor, a precious resource wasted in a moment of panic. You realize that you and the wolf, and the woodsman, and your grandmother are all caught in the same brutal trap, the trap of scarcity, the trap of a world that does not have enough. Obscure detail. In some of the older, more obscure versions of the Little Red Riding Hood story, the wolf doesn't just eat the grandmother, he tricks the girl into eating her, too. He gives her a meal, a dish of meat and gravy, and only after she is finished does he reveal that the meat was her own grandmother. This detail, gruesome as it is, speaks to the desperation of a starving world in times of famine. People would do unspeakable things to survive. The wolf's deception is a reflection of that desperation, a dark metaphor for a world where even the bonds of family could be shattered by the cold, brutal hand of hunger. The story isn't about good and evil, it's about survival. The woodsman looks at you, his eyes filled with a kind of resigned sadness. He has seen this before. He has seen the desperation that a long, hard winter can bring. He knows that the story of the wolf is not unique. It's a story that has been told and retold 1,000 times over. A grim cautionary tale about the nature of a world without plenty. We must go back to the cottage, he says, his voice a low, commanding tone. We must find your grandmother. The wolf will be back, and we must be ready for him. You feel a new kind of fear now, a fear that is not just for yourself, but for your grandmother, for the woodsman, for the wolf. You are no longer alone, you are a part of a grim, desperate battle, a battle for survival in a world that is running out of resources. You are no longer just a girl with a basket. You are a warrior, a fighter, a survivor. Academic debate. The true nature of the wolf's motivation is a point of much scholarly debate. Is the wolf an evil, conniving force, a manifestation of the devil, or is he a force of nature, a victim of circumstance, a predator driven by the same hunger that drives all living things? The story has been shaped and reshaped over time, but the core of it remains the same: a powerful, terrifying encounter between humanity and the forces of the wild. The woodsman's story, the story of the famine, gives you a new lens through which to view the tale. It's not a tale of a bad wolf, but a tale of a world that is running out of food, a world that is becoming more and more dangerous with every passing day. The wolf is not the monster is hunger. You turn and walk back toward the cottage. The woodsman's axe a comforting presence in the growing darkness. You are not a helpless girl anymore. You are a person who has made a pact with the wild, a person who has outwitted the wolf, a person who understands the true nature of the world. You are a survivor, and you are ready for the final confrontation. You and the woodsman approach the cottage, the air now thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something animal, something predatory. The moon, a sliver of white in the inky sky, casts long, dancing shadows on the ground. The cottage, which you once saw as a haven, now looks like a lonely, vulnerable outpost. The wolf, a master of deception, has made the human world a dangerous, unfamiliar place. You are no longer in the woods, you are in a war zone. The woodsman pushes the heavy oak door open with a quiet groan. The air inside is still and cold, heavy with the smell of sickness and old wood smoke. Your grandmother is there, propped up in bed, her eyes closed, her breathing shallow. She is not a woman who is simply unwell. She is a woman who is nearing the end of her life, a victim of the same famine that has driven the wolf to such desperate measures. The woodsman looks at her with a kind of resigned sadness. He sees not just a sick woman, but the harsh reality of life and death in a world without medicine or plenty. She is weak, he says, his voice a low whisper. She needs food, but the wolf will be back for the food. We cannot fight him with an empty stomach. He looks at the two of you, a sick old woman and a terrified young girl. We are not hunters here. We are the hunted. He goes to a small, heavy chest in the corner of the room, a crude thing made of thick planks. He opens it, and a smell of dry herbs and old leather fills the room. He pulls out a small, heavy bag, a thing made of coarse linen. He unties the string and pours its contents onto the table. They are coins, not the shiny, new coins of the city, but old, tarnished silver coins, the kind you saw in the spring. They clatter onto the table, a small fortune. This is all I have left, he says, his voice filled with a profound sense of loss. The winter took all my stores. The famine took my game. These coins, they are a pact, a deal I made with the forest, a promise to not hunt in this territory, but the promise is broken now. The wolf has broken it. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a new kind of resolve. The wolf will be back. He is a creature of cunning, a master of the hunt. But he is not the only one who can make a deal. We can make a deal, too. A new pact. He gestures to the coins. You will go to the village, he says, his voice a low, commanding tone. You will take these coins. You will buy food. You will buy medicine. You will get help. You look at the coins on the table. A small fortune, a heavy weight. You're no longer just a girl with a basket of wine and cake. You are a person with a purpose, a person with a mission, a person with a heavy bag of coins. Historical fact in many medieval societies, bartering was the primary form of exchange. But in times of famine or great need, a small amount of silver coin could be a life-saving resource. Silver coins were not a simple currency. They were a symbol of wealth and power, a way to transcend the simple exchange of goods for goods. For a woodsman, a man who lived on the edge of society, a small pouch of silver coins was an emergency fund, a last resort against the relentless forces of nature. The woodsman's offering of these coins is not a simple gesture of kindness. It's a profound, life or death transaction, a wager against the will of the wolf. You look at him, a question in your eyes. "And what about you?" you ask. He smiles, a grim, humorless thing. "I will wait," he says. "I will wait for the wolf. The forest has its own laws, its own punishments. The wolf is a part of this territory, but I am a part of it, too. I am its hunter, and he is my prey." He reaches into his belt and pulls out a small, crude carving of a wolf, a thing of dark wood. He places it on the table next to the coins. "This is our deal," he says. "This is our pact. The wolf is a hunter, but he is not a killer without reason. He is driven by hunger. We can change the reason. We can change the game." Obscure detail in some ancient hunting rituals. A hunter would carve an effigy of the animal he was hunting and place it in his home. This was not a gesture of aggression, but a gesture of respect, a way of acknowledging the power of the beast. It was a way of saying, "I'm coming for you, but I respect you." The woodsman's carving of the wolf is a powerful symbol, a ritual of an old world that has long since been forgotten. It's a reminder that this is not a random act of violence. It's a hunting ritual, a part of a long, ancient dance between predator and prey. You take the heavy bag of coins, its weight a surprising comfort in your hands. You look at the woodsman, at his grim, determined face. He is not a hero. He is a hunter. He is a man who understands the brutal, uncompromising laws of the forest. He is a man who knows that a life is a currency, a thing that can be bought and sold, and he has just bought your life, and your grandmother's, with a heavy bag of silver. Academic debate. The role of the pact, or the deal, in folk tales is a point of much scholarly discussion. Is a deal a moral compromise, a Faustian bargain with the devil, or is it simply a necessary act of survival, a way to navigate a world that is not fair or just? The woodsman's deal with the wolf is a perfect example of this debate. He is not making a deal with the devil. He is making a deal with a force of nature, a force that is as real and as dangerous as the wind or the rain. His deal is not a moral compromise. It is a desperate act of survival, a wager against the will of a hungry world. You turn and walk out of the cottage. The bag of coins a heavy weight in your hands. You are no longer just a girl running from a wolf. You are a person on a mission. You are an agent of change. You are a character in a story that is no longer about innocence, but about the harsh, brutal reality of survival. The path to the village is long and dangerous, but you are not alone. You have the woodsman's cloak, and you have his coins, and you have his wisdom, and you have the knowledge that the wolf is not a mindless beast. He is a cunning, intelligent, and dangerous predator, and he is waiting. The moon hangs high and cold in the sky, a silent witness to your journey. You are running now, not in a panic-fueled rush, but with a new sense of urgency and purpose. The heavy bag of coins at your hip clinks with every step, a strange metallic melody in the quiet of the night. It is a sound of hope, of survival, of a pact made in the face of certain doom. You are not a girl anymore. You are a courier, a messenger, a soldier in a war against famine and the cold. Brutal realities of the forest, the woodsman's cloak, still around your shoulders, is your armour. The coins are your weapon. The path is clearer now, a wide, well-trodden road that leads back to the village. The trees are less dense here, and the ground is less treacherous. You are leaving the wild, untamed heart of the forest and returning to the world of man. But the world you are returning to is not the world you left behind. You have seen too much, and you have learned too many harsh lessons. You hear a sound, not a howl, but a rustle in the bushes. You stop, your heart pounding. You reach for the woodsman's axe, a small, heavy thing that he had given you to protect yourself with. You are ready to fight, but it's not a wolf, it's a fox, a small, red-furred thing that darts across the path, a tiny, fleeting shadow in the moonlight. It is a reminder that the forest is not just a place of predators and fear. It is a place of life, a place of survival, a place of beauty and of death. You remember the wolf's eyes, the intelligence, the cunning. You remember the woodsman's words. He is a king among wolves. You realize that the wolf is not a villain. He is a character, a powerful, dangerous force of nature, a being who has been shaped by the same brutal forces that have shaped you. He is a predator, but he is a predator who is a part of a larger story, a story of famine and survival, a story of a world without plenty. You feel a profound sense of sadness for the wolf. You, a human, are a part of a world that is running out of food, a world that is becoming more and more dangerous with every passing day. The wolf is a part of that world, too. He is a part of the same grim, desperate battle. He is a victim of the same famine that has made your grandmother sick. He is a reflection of your own desperation, your own will to survive. You come to the edge of the forest, the trees thin out, and you see the lights of the village in the distance, a small cluster of flickering candles in the vast, overwhelming darkness. You are almost home. You are almost safe. You are almost at the end of your journey. But the journey is not over. Not yet. You are walking on a road now, a wide open road, and you feel a profound sense of relief. The air is warmer here, and the moon is brighter. You are a survivor, a person who has made a journey into the heart of a terrifying world and has returned. But you are not the same person. You are a person who understands the true nature of the world. You are a person who understands the true nature of the wolf. You come to the first house, a small, humble dwelling with a single candle in the window. You knock on the door, and it opens. An old woman, a neighbour, looks at you, her eyes wide with surprise. She sees a child who is bruised and battered, a child who is covered in dirt, a child who is clutching a heavy bag of coins. She sees a survivor. You tell her your story. You tell her about your grandmother, about the wolf, about the woodsman, about the famine. She listens, her face a mask of shock and sorrow. She knows the woodsman, she knows the wolf, she knows the story of the famine. She takes you in, gives you a bowl of hot soup, and tells you to rest. You are safe. You are home. You are a survivor. But you are not the same person. You are a person who has seen the wolf. You are a person who has made a pact with the wild. You are a person who knows that the fairy tale is a lie, and the truth is a much more terrifying and beautiful thing. You are a person who knows that the wolf is not a monster. He is a part of a larger story, a story of a world that is running out of food, a world that is becoming more and more dangerous with every passing day. You are a person who knows that the wolf is not a villain. He is a reflection of your own desperation, your own will to survive. He is a mirror, a dark and terrible mirror, that reflects the true nature of the world, and you are a person who has looked into that mirror and has not flinched. The soup is warm in your stomach, a small, simple comfort in a world that is anything but. You feel the exhaustion of your long journey finally catch up with you, a deep, bone-weary weariness that pulls at your eyelids. The world is a vast, terrifying place, full of dangers and shadows and wolves, but it is also a place of kindness and warmth and hot soup. And you, a small, bruised survivor, are a part of it all. You are a part of the story, a story that is no longer just a fairy tale, but a living, breathing, terrifying truth. You close your eyes, the last of your strength fading, and you drift off to sleep, a small, tired child in a warm, safe bed. You dream of wolves and woodsmen and hungry eyes, but you do not dream of fear. You dream of understanding,